Damien Blackwell's fist was inches from Elizabeth Chen's face when the hand caught his wrist. The drunk tech billionaire had just run his Porsche through a red light at 55 miles per hour, sent a 68-year-old man flying through the air, and now he was about to beat the victim's wife for daring to call him intoxicated. "Touch her again," the voice behind him said, calm as death, "and you'll beg for prison before I'm done with you." Damien turned and saw a Navy SEAL and a Belgian Malinois whose eyes promised violence. Then, everything changed. Before we continue, where are you watching from tonight? Drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this story travels. And please, hit that subscribe button and stay with me until the very end, because what happens next will restore your faith that justice still exists. Now, let's go back to the beginning. Robert Chen had learned something in 68 years on this earth. The best moments in life were always the quietest ones. Tuesday evenings at Salvatore's Italian restaurant had become sacred. 40 years of marriage, and he and Elizabeth still dressed up for date night, still held hands across the table, still laughed at jokes they'd told 100 times before. "You're going to order the chicken parmesan," Elizabeth said as they left the restaurant. "I always order the chicken parmesan." "And you're going to say it's the best you've ever had." Robert smiled. "Because it always is." Elizabeth squeezed his hand. After 4 decades, being known so completely felt like coming home every single day. They walked toward the intersection at Main and Harbor, the same route they'd taken for 10 years. The light was red. They waited. Robert was thinking about his students, about the young man who'd finally understood the Constitution today after weeks of struggle. He was thinking about how teaching never got old, because every breakthrough felt like the first one. He was not thinking about death. The Porsche appeared without warning, not from ahead, from the side, running the red light, engine roaring like something unleashed. Robert had maybe 1 second to process what was impossible: a car running a red light, coming straight at them. 1 second to make a choice. He shoved Elizabeth. She stumbled backward, hitting a newspaper stand, crying out in surprise and pain. Robert didn't hear her. The Porsche hit him at 55 miles per hour. The impact was absolute. Robert felt his body leave the ground, felt the world spin, felt something in his chest crack like dry wood snapping. Then he was falling, tumbling through space that had no direction, and then pavement. Cold. Pain. Everything was pain. "Robert!" Elizabeth's scream seemed to come from very far away. "Robert!" He tried to answer. His body refused. All he could do was lie there on the asphalt, blood streaming from his head, staring up at a sky that had suddenly become a ceiling closing in. The Porsche stopped. The driver's door opened. A man stumbled out. 30-ish, expensive suit, hair slicked back with product that probably cost more than Robert's monthly pension. His eyes were glassy, unfocused. The eyes of someone who'd been drinking for hours and convinced himself he was fine to drive. His first words were not, "I'm sorry." His first words were not, "Are you okay?" His first words were, "What the hell were you doing in the road?" Elizabeth pushed herself up from the newspaper stand. Her elbow throbbed where she'd hit the metal edge. Her heart was pounding so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. "We weren't in the road," she said, her voice shaking. "We were in the crosswalk. You ran a red light." "Don't tell me what I did." The man's words slurred together. "I know what I did." "You people stepped out without looking." "The light was red. We had the walk signal." "Are you calling me a liar?" The man stepped closer. His expensive shoes scuffed against the pavement. Elizabeth could smell the alcohol now. Champagne and something darker, something angry. "Do you know who I am?" he said. Do you have any idea who you're talking to? Elizabeth knelt beside Robert. His eyes were open but unfocused. Blood matted his silver hair. His chest rose and fell in shallow, ragged breaths that sounded like paper tearing. "Please," she begged, tears streaming down her face. "Please, call an ambulance. My husband is hurt. He's really hurt." "Your husband is an idiot who can't watch where he's going." The man pulled out his phone, not to call for help, to record them. The camera pointing down at Robert's broken body. "I'm documenting this," he said. "You people stepped in front of my car. This is your fault. My lawyers are going to destroy you." "We didn't." "We were in the crosswalk." "Shut up." The man's voice went cold, hard, empty of anything that might have been human compassion. "Shut up or I'll make this so much worse for you." Robert groaned. His hand twitched, reaching for Elizabeth. "Lizzie," he whispered. Can't feel my legs." "I'm here, sweetheart." Elizabeth grabbed his hand, holding it against her chest. "I'm right here. Don't move. Help is coming." But help wasn't coming. The man was still recording, still building a narrative that blamed the victims for his crime. Elizabeth looked up at him. This stranger who had destroyed their quiet Tuesday. This stranger who had shattered her husband's body. This stranger who stood there in his $1,000 suit, reeking of alcohol, more concerned with his legal defense than with the life bleeding out onto the pavement. Something broke inside her. Not her spirit, her fear. "You're drunk," she said, her voice suddenly clear and hard. "You drove drunk. You hit my husband, and you're standing there blaming us?" "Watch your mouth, old woman." "I will not watch my mouth." Elizabeth stood up slowly, her 66-year-old knees protesting, her heart burning with a fury she hadn't felt in decades. "You almost killed him. You almost killed the man I've loved for 40 years. And you want me to watch my mouth?" The man stopped recording, his face twisted into something mean and petty. "You want to make this difficult? Fine." He stepped toward her. "I was trying to be nice. I was going to let insurance handle this quietly. But you want to call me drunk? You want to accuse me of things?" "I'm telling the truth." "The truth is what I say it is." The man grabbed her arm. His fingers dug into the flesh hard enough to bruise. Elizabeth tried to pull away. "Let go of me." "You're going to tell the police exactly what I tell you to tell them." His face was inches from hers now. His breath stank of champagne and rage. "You stepped into the road. It was dark. I couldn't see you. Do you understand? Let go. Do you understand?" He shook her, hard. Her head snapped back, her gray curls flying. Robert saw it. From the ground, through a haze of pain and blood, he saw a stranger shaking his wife like a doll. "Get your hands off her!" Robert tried to shout, but it came out as a whisper. "Get your hands." "Shut up, old man. You're lucky I don't sue you for damaging my car." The drunk man raised his hand, not to shake her again, to hit her. Elizabeth saw the blow coming. She closed her eyes and prayed. The blow never landed. A hand caught the drunk man's wrist mid-swing. A strong hand. An immovable hand. "That's enough." The voice was calm, controlled, carrying the kind of authority that didn't need volume to command attention. The drunk man spun around, his face contorted with rage. "Who the hell?" He stopped. A man stood behind him. Mid-30s, maybe a few years more. He wore jeans and a navy sweatshirt that had seen better days, But it wasn't the clothes that made the drunk man hesitate. It was the eyes. They were calm, steady, patient in the way of someone who had faced real danger and learned that panic was a luxury he couldn't afford. And beside him, standing perfectly still, was a dog. Not a pet, a partner. Belgian Malinois, tan and black coat, muscles visible beneath the fur. His amber eyes were fixed on the drunk man with an intensity that made rational thought difficult. The dog didn't growl, didn't bark, didn't move. He simply watched, waiting. "Let her go," the man in the navy sweatshirt said. "Now." "This is none of your business." "You made it my business when you raised your hand to a woman." The drunk man tried to pull his wrist free. The grip didn't budge. "Do you know who I am?" "I know what you are." The man's grip tightened slightly, not enough to hurt, enough to communicate certainty. "Let her go. Now." "I'm Damian Blackwell. My uncle is Senator Harrison Blackwell. My cousin is the mayor. You're about to make the biggest mistake of your life. And you're about to learn that some people don't care about your last name." The dog's ears rotated forward. His weight shifted almost imperceptibly onto his front paws. Damian felt it. The sudden primal awareness that he was being measured, that this animal was calculating angles and distances, that one wrong move would have consequences his money couldn't fix. He released Elizabeth's arm. "Smart choice," the man said. He didn't release Damian's wrist yet. "Now step back, away from both of them. 3 steps. You can't. 3 steps. Now." Something in the man's voice cut through Damian's alcoholic haze. Not anger. Something worse. The calm certainty of someone who was stating facts, not making threats. Damian stepped back. Once. Twice. 3 times. The man released his wrist. "Thunder. Guard." The dog moved immediately, not aggressively, professionally, positioning himself between Damian and the elderly couple, a living barrier that made clear any approach would have consequences. The man knelt beside Robert. "Sir, can you hear me?" "Yes." Robert's voice was weak but present. "Yes, I can hear you." "My name is Marcus. I'm going to help you. Can you tell me where it hurts?" "Everywhere. I think my ribs are broken. And my legs. I can't feel my legs." "Don't try to move. What about your head?" "Hit the pavement. Everything's blurry." "That's a concussion. You're going to be okay, but we need to get you to a hospital." Marcus looked at Elizabeth. "Ma'am, are you hurt?" Elizabeth was crying, not from pain, from relief, from the overwhelming gratitude of having a stranger appear at the exact moment she needed one most. I'm okay. A little bruised. But Robert..." "I'm calling an ambulance right now." Marcus pulled out his phone. Thunder remained motionless, his eyes never leaving Damian. "Wait!" Damian had recovered some of his arrogance. Alcohol and entitlement were a powerful combination. "You're making a mistake. A big mistake. I'm calling my lawyer. I'm calling the police. You're going to regret interfering." "Call whoever you want," Marcus said calmly as he spoke to the 911 dispatcher. "Yes, this is an emergency. I'm reporting a vehicular assault at the intersection of Main and Harbor in Monterey. 1 victim, elderly male, possible broken ribs and head trauma. The driver is still on scene. He appears to be intoxicated." "I am not intoxicated!" Damian shouted. "Yes, the driver is becoming aggressive," Marcus continued into the phone. "I have the situation under control for now. Please send police and paramedics." Marcus ended the call. "You just lied to the police," Damien said. "That's a crime." I told them exactly what I observed. You smell like a distillery. You ran a red light. You struck a pedestrian. And you were about to assault his wife. Marcus stood. "If you want to claim you're sober, I'm sure the breathalyzer will clear that up." Damien's face went pale, then red, then pale again. "Do you have any idea what I can do to you?" "You can try to do a lot of things," Marcus said. His expression didn't change. "Most people in your position do. But here's what's actually going to happen. The police are going to arrive. They're going to see an injured elderly man. They're going to smell the alcohol on your breath. They're going to take statements. And then, Mr. Blackwell, you're going to face something you've probably never faced in your entire life." "What's that?" "Consequences." The word hung in the air like a verdict. Sirens wailed in the distance. Thunder's ears swiveled toward the sound, then back to Damien. Elizabeth knelt beside Robert again, holding his hand. "Thank you," she said to Marcus, her voice breaking. "Thank you for helping us." "Don't thank me yet, ma'am," Marcus said quietly. "The hard part is still coming." And Marcus Stone, who had spent 12 years learning to read situations before they exploded, felt a cold certainty settle in his chest. This wasn't over. This was just beginning. The ambulance arrived first. 2 paramedics jumped out, a man and a woman, both moving with practiced efficiency. They assessed Robert quickly, while Elizabeth hovered, her hand never leaving her husband's. "Possible broken ribs, head trauma, BP dropping," the female paramedic said. "We need to transport now." "Ma'am, you can ride with us," her partner added. Elizabeth hesitated. She looked at Marcus, at Damien Blackwell, standing there with murder in his eyes, at Thunder, still positioned between them like a sentinel. "Go with your husband," Marcus told her. "He needs you more than I do. I'll handle things here." "But what if—" "Go. I promise you, this doesn't end tonight." Elizabeth squeezed Marcus's hand once, fierce and grateful, then climbed into the ambulance beside Robert. The doors closed. The vehicle pulled away, sirens wailing into the darkness, which left Marcus, Thunder, and Damien Blackwell standing at an intersection that had just become a battlefield. Damien had his phone out, fingers flying across the screen. "My lawyer is already on it," he said, without looking up. "By the time the cops get here, this will be handled." "Handled how?" "Handled." Damien smiled, the smile of a man who had never lost because he'd never played by rules. "You should have walked away, military. This could have been simple. Old couple trips into traffic. Sad accident. Insurance pays. Nobody goes to jail." "Nobody except the man you hit." "He's not going to jail. He's going to physical therapy." Damien laughed. "Same difference when you're 70. They were going to die soon anyway." Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. Not anger. Something past anger. Recognition. He had met men like Damien Blackwell before. In Kabul, in Baghdad, in a dozen countries where power meant permission to hurt whoever couldn't stop you. They always thought they were untouchable. They were usually wrong. A police cruiser pulled up, single vehicle, 1 officer. Deputy Kyle Stevens stepped out slowly. 40-something, soft around the middle, eyes that had learned to look away from things that paid mortgages. He surveyed the scene with practiced disinterest. His gaze landed on Damien. Something passed between them. Not words. Understanding. "Mr. Blackwell?" Stephen's voice was carefully neutral. "You all right?" "I'm fine. These pedestrians stepped into traffic. I couldn't stop in time." Stevens pulled out a notepad. "I see. And you are—" This last part was directed at Marcus. Lieutenant Marcus Stone, Navy SEALs. I witnessed the accident. Stephen's pen stopped moving. Witnessed? I saw the Mercedes. Porsche, Damien corrected. I saw the vehicle run a red light and strike the elderly man in the crosswalk. Not jaywalking, not stepping into traffic. In the marked crosswalk with the walk signal lit. Stephen's jaw tightened. That's not what Mr. Blackwell says. Mr. Blackwell is intoxicated. I could smell the alcohol from 15 feet away. That's a lie, Damien snapped. Marcus ignored him. Deputy Stevens, are you planning to administer a breathalyzer test? I'll decide what tests are appropriate. State law requires sobriety testing for any driver involved in an injury collision. I know my job, Lieutenant. Then do it. The silence that followed was heavy. Thunder sat perfectly still beside Marcus, but every line of the dog's body radiated alertness. He had been trained to read situations, to detect lies, to sense when violence was about to erupt. Right now, Thunder was very, very alert. Stevens made his choice. The wrong choice. Lieutenant Stone, I'm going to need you to step back from the scene. Take your dog and leave. I'm a witness to a crime. You're a civilian interfering with a police investigation. I'm asking you nicely to leave. And if I don't? Then I'll have to arrest you for obstruction. Damien smiled. Smug. Satisfied. The expression of a man who knew he had purchased the right outcome. Marcus didn't smile. He looked at Stevens. Really looked. What he saw was a man drowning in small compromises that had become a way of life. Deputy Stevens, Marcus said quietly, I'm going to ask you one time. Are you sure you want to do this? I'm sure I want you gone. Because what you're doing right now, dismissing evidence, refusing to test a clearly intoxicated driver, threatening a witness, that's not going to disappear. I have a very good memory, and I have friends who ask questions professionally. Stevens's face hardened. Is that a threat? It's a fact. Frank, Damien's voice cut through, sharp with warning. Not here. Not with him. Just get him away from the scene. Stevens took a breath, composed himself. Lieutenant Stone, I'm not going to ask again. Leave now, or I'll place you under arrest. Marcus looked at the deputy, at Damien, at the intersection where an elderly man's blood still stained the pavement. Then he looked at Thunder. The dog met his eyes. 6 years of partnership had taught them to communicate without words. Thunder's message was clear. Your call, but I'm ready. Fine, Marcus said. He raised his hands slightly. I'll leave. But I want you to know something, Deputy. What? Everything you do tonight is going to come back. Every choice you make, every lie you tell, every crime you cover up. Marcus stepped toward his truck. It might take days, or weeks, or months, but it's going to come back. And when it does, I'll be there. That sounds like a threat. It's a promise. Marcus opened his truck door. Thunder jumped in. As he drove away, he watched in his rearview mirror. Stevens and Damien shook hands, laughed, began constructing a story that would blame Robert and Elizabeth Chen for their own destruction. Marcus's hands tightened on the steering wheel. This wasn't over. He was going to make sure of it. Marcus drove straight to the VA hospital on the other side of town. His father would be awake. James Stone never slept well anymore. ALS had taken that from him, along with everything else. He found his father in room 314, propped up in bed, oxygen tube in his nose, hands twisted into claws by the disease that was slowly stealing his body. "You look angry," James said. His voice was barely a whisper, each word requiring effort that most people took for granted. "I just watched a drunk driver run over an elderly couple. Then I watched a cop cover it up." James closed his eyes. "Tell me." So Marcus told him. Everything. The accident, the assault, Elizabeth's courage, Robert's broken body, Damian Blackwell's arrogance, Deputy Stevens's corruption. When he finished, James was quiet for a long moment. "What are you going to do?" he finally asked. "Fight." "Against who? The Blackwells?" James's laugh turned into a cough. "Son, that family owns half this town. Senator's nephew, mayor's cousin. They've been untouchable for 3 generations. Nobody's untouchable." "You sound like me at 35. James struggled to lift his hand. Marcus took it gently. "I taught you to stand up, to do what's right. But I also taught you to pick battles you can win." "This isn't about winning, Dad. It's about not walking away." "Some fights cost more than you think." "Then they cost more." James studied his son's face. After 68 years on this earth, he could still read Marcus like a book he'd written himself. "That couple," James said. "Robert and Elizabeth. They remind you of someone, don't they?" Marcus was quiet. "They remind you of me and your mother," James continued. "Before the ALS. When we still had time. When we still thought we'd grow old together instead of..." He trailed off. "Dad." "It's okay." James's grip tightened as much as his failing muscles allowed. "You're fighting for them because you couldn't fight for me. Because you can't stop this disease from taking me. So you need to stop something. Save someone." "Maybe." "Not maybe. Definitely." James's eyes were bright despite his exhaustion. "And that's okay, Marcus. That's what makes you good at what you do. You channel the pain into purpose." "What if purpose isn't enough?" "It's always enough. It's the only thing that is." They sat in silence. Thunder had settled at Marcus's feet, his head resting near James's bed. The old man smiled. "Still the best partner you ever had. Don't tell the guys in my unit. I trained you better than that. Always trust the dog more than the people." A nurse entered, young, kind-faced, apologetic. "Mr. Stone, I'm sorry, but visiting hours ended 20 minutes ago." "Just a few more minutes," Marcus said. "I wish I could, but..." "Please." Something in Marcus's voice made her hesitate. She looked at James, at the oxygen, at the machines that were keeping a good man alive despite his body's betrayal. 10 minutes, she said softly. "But if my supervisor comes, I didn't see you." "Thank you." She left. Marcus turned back to his father. "Get some rest, Dad. I'll be back tomorrow." "Marcus?" "Yeah?" "That couple, Robert and Elizabeth. You make sure they're okay. You make sure that drunk bastard pays. Because if you don't..." James's voice cracked. "If you don't, then what's the point of any of it? What's the point of teaching people to stand up if nobody ever actually does it?" Marcus kissed his father's forehead. "I'll make sure. I promise." He left the room. Thunder followed. As they walked down the hallway, Marcus's phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Hello?" "Is this Lieutenant Marcus Stone?" A woman's voice, professional, careful. "Who's asking?" "My name is Sofia Martinez.
I'm with the FBI, Financial Crimes Division. I understand you witnessed an incident tonight involving Damien Blackwell? Marcus stopped walking.
How did you get this number?
I have my sources. Can we talk?
About what?
About the fact that Damien Blackwell has been under federal investigation for 18 months. About the fact that his cryptocurrency company is a money laundering operation for organized crime. About the fact that you just became the first person in 3 years willing to stand up to him in public.
Sophia paused.
And about the fact that you're in serious danger right now, whether you know it or not.
I can handle myself.
I'm sure you can.
But can you handle a family with unlimited resources, political connections at every level, and a history of making problems disappear? Because that's what you're up against. Marcus looked at Thunder. The dog tilted his head, waiting. Where can we meet? Marcus asked. Denny's on Ocean Avenue. 1 hour. Come alone except for your dog. And Lieutenant? Yeah? Watch your back. The Blackwells move fast when they feel threatened. And you just threaten them more than anyone has in a very long time. She hung up. Marcus stood in the hospital corridor, phone in hand, feeling the weight of what he'd just started. Thunder pressed against his leg. I know, boy, Marcus said. We're in deep now. Thunder's tail wagged once. He didn't seem worried. Marcus's phone buzzed again. This time, a text from an unknown number. Leave town, or things get worse. This is your only warning. Marcus deleted the message. Then he walked to his truck, drove to his motel, and found all 4 tires slashed. The windows were smashed. A note was taped to the steering wheel. Final chance. Walk away. Marcus crumpled the note, threw it away, called a tow truck. Then he called Elizabeth Chen. She answered on the first ring. Hello? Mrs. Chen, it's Marcus Stone. How's your husband? In surgery. They're putting pins in his ribs. The doctor said... Her voice broke. He said, Robert's lucky to be alive. He's alive because you were there. Because he's a fighter. The police called. They said they're closing the case. They said Robert stepped into traffic. They said it was our fault. Elizabeth was crying now. They said no charges would be filed against Mr. Blackwell. Marcus closed his eyes. They're lying. I know they're lying, but what can we do? We're nobody. We're old. We don't have money or power or... You have me. Silence. Mrs. Chen, I need you to trust me. Can you do that? I don't even know you. You know I stopped when everyone else would have driven past. You know I stood between you and violence. You know I'm calling you now, instead of letting this go. Marcus's voice hardened. And you know that I'm going to make sure Damien Blackwell pays for what he did. Elizabeth took a shaky breath. What do we do? You stay with your husband. You let him heal. You document everything. Every injury, every medical bill, every conversation with police. And you wait. For what? For me to build a case that even the Blackwells can't bury. And if they come after you? Marcus looked at his slashed tires, his smashed windows, the threats that were only going to escalate. Then they'll learn what happens when you corner someone who has nothing left to lose. Marcus met Sophia Martinez at Denny's at 11:47 that night. She was sitting in a corner booth, back to the wall, eyes on the door. FBI training or personal paranoia? Probably both. You brought the dog, she said, as Marcus slid into the booth. He goes everywhere I go. Thunder settled under the table, perfectly still except for his eyes tracking every person in the restaurant. Sophia pushed a manila folder across the table. Damien Blackwell,
38 years old, Harvard Business School dropout. Founded Crypto Vault Solutions 6 years ago, currently worth $300 million on paper. And off paper? Off paper, he's laundering money for the Sinaloa cartel. We've been building a case for 18 months, but every time we get close, evidence disappears. Witnesses recant. Judges issue favorable rulings. Sophia's jaw tightened. His uncle is Senator Harrison Blackwell. His cousin Rachel is the mayor. His other cousin Michael is a federal prosecutor in San Francisco. The family has roots everywhere. Then why are you talking to me? Because you're the first person in 3 years who stood up to him publicly, in front of witnesses.
With a victim who might actually survive to testify. Sophia leaned forward. And because I'm tired of watching criminals walk free because they were born into the right family. Marcus opened the folder. Photos of Damien at clubs, on yachts, with people whose faces appeared in cartel intelligence reports. Transaction records, shell company documents. A pattern of wealth that didn't match any legitimate business model. What do you need from me? Marcus asked. Everything you saw tonight. Every word he said. Every action Deputy Stevens took. And anything else you can find. Like what? Like security footage from nearby businesses. Like witnesses who aren't on the Blackwell payroll. Like evidence that can't be buried or bought. Sophia paused. You're military. You know how to run an operation. Run this one. I'm one person. You're one person who made Damien Blackwell scared enough to slash your tires. That's more progress than the FBI has made in 18 months. Thunder shifted under the table. His body went rigid. Marcus felt it immediately. Someone's watching us, Marcus said quietly. I know. Black sedan across the street. 2 men inside. Been there since I arrived. Blackwell's people? Probably. They're not very subtle. Sophia stood. Walk me to my car. Let them see we're not hiding. They left the restaurant together. Thunder walked between them, alert but not aggressive. The black sedan's engine started as they reached Sophia's vehicle. They're going to follow you, Sophia said. They're going to try to intimidate you. They might try worse. Let them try. Lieutenant Stone, Marcus, these people have killed before. 3 witnesses in the past 5 years, all ruled accidents or suicides. All convenient. Marcus met her eyes. I've survived worse than the Blackwell family. I'll survive this. For the Chen's sake, I hope you're right. Sophia drove away. The black sedan pulled out behind her, following. Marcus waited until they were gone, then drove to Monterey Community Hospital. He found Elizabeth in the surgical waiting room. She looked like she'd aged 10 years in 4 hours. He's still in surgery, she said when she saw Marcus. They found internal bleeding they didn't see at first. His spleen. They're removing it. Marcus sat beside her. Thunder laid his head on Elizabeth's knee. He's going to make it, Marcus said. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Men who push their wives out of the path of speeding cars don't give up easy. Elizabeth's hand trembled as she stroked Thunder's head. The doctor said even if he survives, he might never walk normally again. 40 years of teaching on his feet, and some drunk driver takes that away in 1 second. Then we make sure that drunk driver pays for every second. How? The police already closed the case. The police made a mistake. We're going to make sure everyone knows it. Marcus pulled out his phone, started making calls. First to the jewelry store on the corner of Main and Harbor. No answer at this hour, but he left a message. Then to every business within 2 blocks of the intersection. Some had security cameras, some might have footage. Elizabeth watched him work. Why are you doing this? She asked. You don't know us. You have your own life, your own problems. Why risk everything for strangers? Marcus stopped dialing, looked at her. My father is dying. ALS. I came home to say goodbye. His voice was steady, but his eyes held something raw. I can't stop that disease. I can't save him. But maybe I can save someone else's father. Someone else's husband. Maybe that has to be enough. Elizabeth's eyes filled with tears. Your father raised a good man. He raised a stubborn man who doesn't know when to quit. Same thing. A surgeon emerged from the operating room, still in scrubs, mask pulled down, exhaustion written across his face. Mrs. Chen? Elizabeth shot to her feet. Is he? He's alive. We removed his spleen, repaired the internal bleeding, stabilized 3 broken ribs. He's going to need months of physical therapy, but he's going to survive. Elizabeth's knees buckled. Marcus caught her. Can I see him? She whispered. He's in recovery. Give us 30 minutes to get him settled, then you can sit with him. The surgeon left. Elizabeth turned to Marcus and did something that surprised them both. She hugged him, fierce and grateful and desperate. Thank you, she said into his shoulder. Thank you for being there. Thank you for staying. Marcus held her until she stopped shaking. 37 minutes later, Elizabeth was beside Robert's bed. Marcus had gone to his motel to arrange for new tires and windows. He arrived back at his truck to find a man waiting. Expensive suit, slicked hair, lawyer written all over him. Lieutenant Stone? Who's asking? My name is Richard Hastings. I represent the Blackwell family. He handed Marcus a business card. My client would like to offer you compensation for your damaged vehicle. I don't want his money. $20,000, cash, today. All you have to do is sign a statement saying you may have been mistaken about what you saw tonight. Marcus stared at him. You're offering me $20,000 to lie. I'm offering you $20,000 to reconsider your recollection of events. Get away from my truck. $30,000. That's my final offer. I said, get away from my truck. Thunder growled, low and dangerous. The first sound he'd made all night that carried threat. Hastings stepped back. You're making a mistake, Lieutenant. The Blackwell family doesn't make offers twice. Good. Then we're done here. You have no idea what you're up against. I've been up against worse than you can imagine. Try me. Hastings left. Marcus called Sophia Martinez. They just tried to bribe me, he told her. $30,000 to change my statement. Did you record it? No. Should I have? Next time, yes. Every conversation, every encounter, everything. These people are building a case against you while you're building one against them. Sophia's voice hardened. Marcus, I need you to understand something. The Blackwells aren't going to stop. They're going to escalate until you break or disappear. Then they're going to be disappointed. I'm serious. They've done this before. Witnesses develop sudden financial problems. Family members get investigated by the IRS. Careers mysteriously implode. They're patient and they're thorough, and they don't leave loose ends. Neither do I. Marcus hung up and drove to the jewelry store on Main and Harbor. It was closed, but an elderly Korean man was inside counting the register. Marcus knocked. The man looked up, startled, then wary. Marcus held up his hands. I'm not here to rob you. I'm here about the accident last night. The elderly couple who got hit by the Porsche. The man's expression shifted. He came to the door but didn't unlock it. Who are you? My name is Marcus Stone. I witnessed the accident. I know the driver was drunk. I know he ran a red light. And I know you have security cameras that probably caught everything. The man's face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about. Sir, please. An innocent man is in the hospital. A corrupt cop is covering up a crime, and a rich drunk is going to walk away unless someone stands up. I can't help you. You mean you won't help me? I have a family. I have a business. I can't afford to make enemies. And that couple couldn't afford to get hit by a drunk driver. But it happened anyway. The man's hand trembled on the door handle. You don't understand. The Blackwells already sent someone. They said if I give anyone footage, my business license gets revoked. They said immigration would audit my family. They said... His voice broke. They said things would happen to my daughter. Marcus felt fury rise in his chest. Not hot, cold, calculated. What's your name, sir? Henry Park. Mr. Park, I'm going to make you a promise. If you help me, I will protect you. I have resources you don't know about, friends and federal law enforcement, and I'm very good at making sure bad people face consequences. You can't protect me from the Blackwells. Watch me. Henry stared at Marcus through the glass, weighing risk against conscience, fear against right. The footage is on my phone, he finally said. I made a backup before they told me to delete it. Can I see it? Henry unlocked the door, led Marcus to the back office, pulled up the video on his phone. There it was, crystal clear. The Porsche running the red light at 55 miles per hour. Robert pushing Elizabeth. The impact. Damien stumbling out, clearly intoxicated. The assault on Elizabeth. Marcus intervening. Deputy Stevens arriving and immediately siding with Damien. Everything. Mr. Park, I need you to send me this video. Right now. And I need you to upload it to a secure cloud server where the Blackwells can't delete it. If I do this, they'll know it was me. They're going to know anyway. The question is whether you help stop them or let them keep hurting people. Henry's hands shook as he sent the file. My daughter is 17. She wants to go to Berkeley. If anything happens to her because of this, nothing is going to happen to her. I give you my word. Marcus left with the footage, drove straight to an internet cafe, created an anonymous email account, sent the video to Sofia Martinez, to the State Attorney General's office, to 3 major news networks, and to an independent journalist he knew who specialized in corruption cases. Then he posted it on YouTube with the title, Drunk Driver Hits Elderly Couple, Cop Covers It Up. By morning, it had 200,000 views. By noon, it had 2 million. By evening, it had 6 million views and was trending nationwide. Marcus's phone exploded with calls, news requests, interview requests, people sharing their own stories of Blackwell family corruption. The video had struck a nerve, a raw, angry nerve about privilege and justice, and the price ordinary people paid when the powerful faced no consequences. Elizabeth called him crying. It's everywhere. Everyone is seeing what happened. Everyone knows Robert didn't do anything wrong. It's just the beginning, Marcus told her. How is he? He woke up. He's weak, but he woke up. He asked for me. He asked what happened. Her voice cracked. He doesn't remember pushing me. He just remembers seeing the car and knowing he had to do something. That's love, Mrs. Chen. That's what 40 years of marriage looks like. Come see him. He wants to thank you. Marcus drove to the hospital, found Robert propped up in bed, oxygen tube in his nose, bandages wrapped around his chest, but his eyes were clear. You're the one, Robert said when Marcus entered. His voice was weak but steady. The one who stopped him. I just did what anyone should have done. But nobody else did. Just you. Robert reached out his hand. Marcus took it. Elizabeth told me everything. What you've done. The video. Standing up to them. Tears leaked from the corners of Robert's eyes. I taught history for 40 years. I taught about people who stood up when standing up mattered. And here you are, living proof that those people still exist. Mr. Chen, Robert, please. Robert, I need to ask you something. When this goes to trial, when they try to discredit you and Elizabeth, when the Blackwell lawyers come after you with everything they have, will you be able to testify? Will you be able to tell the truth, even when it costs everything? Robert's grip tightened. I'm 68 years old. I've spent my entire life teaching young people that truth matters, that integrity matters, that standing up for what's right matters. His voice grew stronger. If I back down now, what was any of it for? What did I teach all those years if I won't practice what I preached? They're going to make it hard. Good things usually are. Elizabeth stood beside her husband's bed, tears streaming down her face. We're in this together. Whatever comes, we're in it. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. He'd gone into combat dozens of times. He'd faced enemy fire, IEDs, ambushes, moments where death was more likely than survival. But he'd always fought for abstract concepts: freedom, democracy, national security. This was different. This was fighting for two people he could see and touch. Two people who'd had their lives shattered by casual cruelty. Two people who reminded him that behind every statistic was a story. Behind every casualty was a person someone loved. Okay, Marcus said. Then let's finish this. His phone buzzed. Sophia Martinez. Turn on the news, she said without preamble. Any channel. Marcus found a TV in the waiting room. Every channel was running the same story. The video had forced the mayor's hand. Rachel Blackwell had just announced her resignation. The police chief had been placed on administrative leave, and the state attorney general was launching a criminal investigation into the Monterey Police Department's handling of the case. It's happening, Sophia said. You did it. You made enough noise that they can't bury it anymore. What about Damien? Arrested an hour ago. FBI raid on his house found evidence of money laundering, witness intimidation, and attempted bribery of a federal witness. That last one was you, by the way. Marcus felt thunder press against his leg. He's going to post bail. Probably, but not for long. We've frozen his assets, his passport's flagged, and every news outlet in the country is running the story. Sophia's voice carried grim satisfaction. The Blackwells spent 3 generations building their empire on the assumption that nobody would ever look too close. You just shined a spotlight they can't turn off. What happens now? Now, we build an airtight case. Now, we make sure every charge sticks. Now, we make sure Robert and Elizabeth Chen get justice. Marcus hung up, walked back to Robert's room. What's wrong? Elizabeth asked, reading his face. Nothing's wrong, Marcus said. Everything's right. They arrested Damien Blackwell an hour ago. The mayor resigned. The investigation is official. He looked at Robert. You're going to get your day in court. Robert closed his eyes. Thank God. Thank God. Marcus's phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Sophia. It wasn't a news outlet. It was his father's nurse. Lieutenant Stone, you need to come to the hospital. Your father's taken a turn. The doctor says... Her voice broke. He doesn't have much time. Marcus's world stopped. I have to go, he said to Elizabeth. Your father? He's dying. I have to... Go, Elizabeth said firmly. Go be with him. We'll be fine. You've done enough. More than enough. Now go be with your dad. Marcus ran. Marcus made it to the VA hospital in 14 minutes. He broke every speed limit. Thunder sat in the passenger seat, silent and still, sensing the urgency. James Stone was conscious when Marcus entered room 314, barely. His breathing was labored, shallow, the sound of a body giving up despite the will to continue. "Dad." Marcus grabbed his father's hand. "I'm here. I'm right here." James's eyes opened. It took effort. Everything took effort now. "The couple," James whispered. Each word cost him. "Did they?" "The husband's alive. They arrested Damien Blackwell. The whole case is breaking open." Marcus's voice cracked. "You were right, Dad. Standing up mattered. It changed everything." James smiled, barely visible, but there. "Told you," he managed. "Always. Stand up." "I'm not done yet. I'm going to make sure he goes to prison. I'm going to make sure, Marcus." James squeezed his son's hand with what little strength remained. "You already won. You stopped when others drove past. That's everything. Don't talk. Save your strength." "For what?" James's laugh turned into a wet cough. "No strength left to save." His eyes locked onto Marcus's, clear despite the pain, certain despite the dying. "Proud of you. Always. Proud." "Dad, please. Your mother. Waiting for me. Finally. No more pain." James's grip loosened. "You keep fighting. Not for me. For people who need you." "I will. I promise." "Good boy." James's eyes closed. "Good boy." The heart monitor's steady beep became a single continuous tone. James Stone was gone. Marcus sat there holding his father's hand while nurses rushed in, while the doctor confirmed what everyone already knew, while thunder pressed against his leg, offering the only comfort that mattered: presence. "I'm sorry, Lieutenant," the doctor said. "We did everything we could." Marcus didn't answer, couldn't answer. He just sat there thinking about all the conversations he'd meant to have, all the time he'd wasted on deployments when he could have been home, all the moments he'd never get back. Thunder whined softly, put his head on Marcus's knee. "I know, boy," Marcus whispered. "I know." He stayed until they took his father's body. Then he walked out of the hospital into a world that had kept moving, despite the fact that his had just stopped. His phone buzzed. Sophia Martinez. "Marcus, I heard about your father. I'm so sorry. Thank you. If you need time, I don't need time. I need to finish this." Marcus's voice was flat, empty. "What's the status?" "Damien posted bail 2 hours ago. $5 million. His uncle, the senator, called in favors with a judge in San Francisco." "He's out?" "House arrest with ankle monitor, but yes, he's out." Sophia hesitated. "Marcus, there's something else. Henry Park's jewelry store was vandalized last night. Windows smashed, inventory stolen, message spray-painted on the wall, 'Snitches get stitches.'" Marcus felt something cold settle in his chest. Not grief anymore. Rage. "Is he okay?" "Physically, yes, but he's terrified. He's talking about recanting his statement, saying the security footage was corrupted, that he can't be sure what he saw." "Put him in protective custody." "We're trying. He doesn't trust us. Says the FBI couldn't protect him from having his store destroyed. How can we protect his daughter?" Sophia's voice dropped. "Marcus, he's right to be scared.
The Blackwells are sending a message. Help us, and this happens to you.
Then we need to send a louder message.
How?
I'm going to see Henry Park, right now. Marcus drove to the jewelry store, found Henry sweeping up broken glass, his hands shaking, his eyes red from crying or lack of sleep, or both. Mr. Park. Henry spun around, saw Marcus. His face went white. You need to leave, right now. If they see you here, let them see. I'm not hiding anymore, and neither are you. Easy for you to say. You don't have a daughter. You don't have everything you've built for 30 years destroyed in one night because you did the right thing. Henry's voice broke. I should have kept my mouth shut. I should have deleted that video like they told me.
And let Damien Blackwell keep hurting people? Let him run over the next elderly couple? The next victim?
That's not my problem.
It became your problem the second you witnessed a crime. We don't get to choose when we're called to stand up. We just get to choose whether we do it or run away.
Marcus stepped closer. My father died 2 hours ago. You know what his last words were? Keep fighting for people who need you. Not for people who are convenient. Not for people who make it easy. For people who need you. Henry stared at him. I'm sorry about your father. So am I. But he taught me something that I'm teaching you right now. We don't get to pick which battles matter. They all matter. Every single one. Because every time we let evil win quietly, we make it easier for evil to win loudly. I can't lose my daughter. You won't. I told you I'd protect you, and I meant it. Marcus pulled out his phone. I'm calling the FBI right now. They're going to move you and your family to a safe house. Today. Your daughter goes with you. You stay there until the trial is over. And then, Mr. Park, you testify. You tell the truth. And you help make sure Damien Blackwell never hurts another person. Henry looked at his destroyed store. At 30 years of work shattered because he'd chosen conscience over safety. Okay, he finally said. Okay. I'll do it. Marcus called Sophia. Arrangements were made. Within 3 hours, Henry Park and his daughter were in FBI protective custody. Marcus drove to the hospital to check on Robert and Elizabeth, found them both awake, Robert sitting up in bed, color returning to his face. How are you feeling? Marcus asked. Like I got hit by a car, Robert said. Then he smiled. But alive? That counts for something. Elizabeth stood beside her husband's bed, her hand never leaving his. We heard about your father. Marcus, I'm so sorry. He went peacefully. That's all we can ask for. What was his name? Robert asked. James. James Stone. Marine, Vietnam. He taught me everything that matters. Then he did his job right. Robert's eyes were bright with understanding. Because his son is changing the world. I'm just trying to make sure you get justice. You're doing more than that. Elizabeth moved toward Marcus. That video you posted? It's been viewed 20 million times now. 20 million. People are sharing their own stories, other Blackwell victims coming forward. You didn't just save us. You gave voice to everyone they've hurt. Marcus's phone buzzed. Sophia again. I need to take this. He stepped into the hallway. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. Sophia's voice carried barely contained excitement. Deputy Kyle Stevens just walked into our field office. He wants to make a deal. Full cooperation. Complete testimony about years of Blackwell corruption. Names, dates, payments, crimes they covered up. Everything. Why the sudden conscience? Because Damien Blackwell just threw him under the bus, told his lawyers that Stevens acted alone, that the family had no knowledge of any corruption, that Stevens was a rogue cop taking bribes without authorization. Sophia laughed bitterly. Blackwell made the same mistake every criminal makes. He assumed loyalty was stronger than self-preservation. What's Stevens offering? Everything. He's been on the Blackwell payroll for 6 years. He's got records of every payment, every case they made disappear, every witness they intimidated. He's got evidence that'll bring down not just Damien, but half the county government. And in exchange? Witness protection, reduced sentence, fresh start somewhere far from California. Sophia paused. Marcus, this is it. This is what we needed. With Stevens's testimony and Henry Park's video, we've got an airtight case. Marcus leaned against the wall. His father was dead. His mother had died 3 years ago from cancer. He had no family left. But standing here in a hospital corridor, getting news that justice might actually prevail, he felt something shift. Purpose. His father's final gift. When does he testify? Marcus asked. Preliminary hearing is in 3 days. Judge Carmichael. She's tough, fair, and she doesn't owe the Blackwells anything. Sophia's voice hardened. Marcus, we're going to win this. I can feel it. Don't feel it. Prove it. Marcus hung up, went back to Robert's room, told them about Stevens flipping. That's the cop who tried to cover it up? Robert asked. The same. And now he's helping us? Rats leave sinking ships. Marcus sat down. But his testimony will corroborate everything. The cover-up, the intimidation, the corruption. Combined with the video evidence and your testimony, Damien Blackwell is going to prison for a long time. Elizabeth started crying. Not from sadness. From relief so profound, it hurt. I can't believe it's really happening, she whispered. I can't believe justice might actually win. It's happening, Marcus said, because you refused to stay silent, because Henry Park chose conscience over safety, because Stevens finally chose truth over paycheck, and because sometimes, when enough people stand up, evil runs out of places to hide. The next 3 days were a blur. Marcus organized his father's funeral. Small service, military honors. Fellow veterans stood in uniform and saluted a man who taught them all what honor meant. Elizabeth and Robert attended despite Robert's condition, wheelchair and all. Your father would have liked mine, Robert told Marcus at the graveside. They were the same kind of man, the kind who stand up. They were exactly the same kind of man. The preliminary hearing happened the day after the funeral. Judge Sarah Carmichael presided. 50-ish, gray hair, eyes that had seen every trick in the book and wasn't impressed by any of them. Damien Blackwell sat at the defense table in a suit that cost more than most people's monthly salary. His lawyer, Richard Hastings, looked confident. Too confident. The prosecution laid out their case. The video played on a large screen. 27 seconds of crystal clear footage showing everything. The red light run, the impact, the assault, the cover-up. The courtroom was silent, except for Elizabeth's quiet crying. Your Honor, Hastings stood. This video has been edited. We have experts who will testify. I've seen the metadata, Mr. Hastings, Judge Carmichael interrupted. 3 independent forensic analysts confirmed this video is unedited, unaltered, and completely authentic. Sit down. Hastings sat. Deputy Kyle Stevens testified next. Calm, clear, devastating. How long were you on the Blackwell payroll? The prosecutor asked. 6 years. They paid me $5,000 a month to make problems go away. What kind of problems? DUIs, assault charges, property disputes, anything the family wanted buried. Stevens looked directly at Damien. I falsified reports. I intimidated witnesses. I destroyed evidence. All of it on their orders. Why are you coming forward now? Stevens's jaw tightened. Because I watched an old man almost die. I watched his wife get assaulted. And I stood there and tried to cover it up because a rich man told me to. His voice cracked. I have 2 daughters, same age as Mrs. Chen. I looked at her that night and I thought, what if someone did this to my daughters? What if some corrupt cop let the criminal walk free?
Objection! Hastings shouted. This is clearly coached testimony.
Overruled. Continue, Deputy Stevens. I'm done being the kind of man who lets evil win because it's easier than standing up. I'm done. Stevens looked at the judge. I deserve to go to prison for what I did. But before I go, I want to make sure Damien Blackwell goes with me. The gallery erupted in whispers. Judge Carmichael banged her gavel. Marcus sat in the back row with thunder at his feet. He watched Damien Blackwell's face cycle through emotions. Shock, rage, fear. The face of a man who'd never lost before learning what losing felt like. Henry Park testified via video link from protective custody. His voice shook, but his words were clear. I saw everything. The car ran a red light, hit the old man. The driver was clearly drunk. And when the police arrived, they immediately started protecting the driver instead of helping the victim. Why didn't you come forward sooner? The prosecutor asked. Because I was scared. The Blackwells sent people to threaten me. They destroyed my store. They said they'd hurt my daughter if I testified. Henry's voice grew stronger. But I realized something. If I stay silent, I'm just as guilty as the people who hurt that couple. I'm not going to be that person. Not anymore. Robert Chen testified last. They wheeled him into the courtroom. His voice was weak, but his words carried the weight of truth. I was holding my wife's hand. We were in the crosswalk. The light was green for us, and then headlights came from nowhere. Robert's eyes filled with tears. I pushed Elizabeth. I knew the car was going to hit one of us. I chose me. After 40 years of marriage, that's not even a choice. That's just love. What happened after the impact? The prosecutor asked gently. I was on the ground, bleeding, couldn't move. And the driver got out and started yelling at us, blaming us. He grabbed my wife. He was going to hit her. Robert looked at Marcus. And then Lieutenant Stone appeared, like an angel, like proof that good still exists in this world. Judge Carmichael listened to everything, reviewed every piece of evidence. Then she made her ruling. Mr. Blackwell, I'm denying bail. You're remanded to custody until trial. Furthermore, I'm ordering all your assets frozen pending investigation of the money laundering charges. And I'm fast-tracking this case. Trial begins in 30 days. She banged her gavel. Justice delayed is justice denied. This court will not allow the powerful to manipulate the system any longer. Damien Blackwell was led away in handcuffs, screaming about his rights, his lawyers, his family's connections. None of it mattered anymore. Outside the courthouse, news cameras swarmed. Marcus tried to avoid them, but reporters cornered him. Lieutenant Stone, do you feel vindicated? This isn't about me. It's about Robert and Elizabeth Chen. It's about every victim the Blackwells hurt over 3 generations. It's about proving that justice still matters. Your father passed away recently. Would he be proud? Marcus felt his throat tighten. My father taught me that the measure of a man isn't what he does when people are watching, it's what he does when no one is. He taught me to stand up, to show up, to never walk away when someone needs help. His voice broke. So, yes, I think he'd be proud. I hope he'd be proud. Thunder pressed against Marcus's leg. The cameras caught it. The image would run on every news channel. A Navy SEAL and his K-9 partner, standing up for strangers. Proof that heroes still existed. Elizabeth found Marcus in the crowd, hugged him.
Thank you, she whispered, for everything, for stopping, for staying, for fighting when we couldn't fight anymore.
You fought plenty. You never gave up.
Because you showed us we didn't have to.
Elizabeth pulled back, tears streaming down her face.
Your father raised you right, Marcus Stone. He raised a man who changes lives.
Robert wheeled himself over. The trial is in 30 days. Will you be there? Every single day.
Good.
Robert reached up and took Marcus's hand. Because you're family now, whether you like it or not. Marcus looked at this elderly couple, broken but undefeated, hurt but standing. They reminded him of his parents, of everyone who'd ever fought for something bigger than themselves. I like it, Marcus said. I like it just fine. That night, Marcus sat in his motel room with Thunder. His father was gone. His mother was gone. He was alone, except for the dog who'd been with him through everything. What do we do now, boy? Marcus asked. Thunder laid his head on Marcus's lap. The answer was simple, obvious. They kept going. They kept standing up. They kept showing up for people who needed them. Because that's what James Stone had taught his son. And that's what Marcus Stone would spend the rest of his life honoring. The trial began on a Tuesday morning in early November. The courthouse was packed. People lined up at 4 a.m. for seats. News vans blocked 3 streets. This wasn't just a trial anymore. It was a referendum on whether justice still mattered when money said it didn't. Marcus sat in the gallery with Thunder at his feet. Elizabeth was beside him, holding his hand like he was family. Because he was. Robert was in the front row, wheelchair positioned where he could see everything. His recovery had been slow but steady. Physical therapy 3 times a week, learning to walk again, learning to live with pain that would never fully disappear. Damian Blackwell entered in an orange jumpsuit. No expensive suit this time. No gold watch. No arrogance. Just a man who'd finally run out of people to buy and places to hide. The prosecution opened with the video. That same 27 seconds that had changed everything. The courtroom watched in silence. Some people cried. Others looked away. But everyone saw the truth. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the prosecutor began. What you just witnessed is a crime in its purest form. A drunk man in a $60,000 car running a red light and destroying 2 innocent lives because he believed his money made him untouchable. We're here to prove he was wrong. The defense tried everything. They claimed Robert and Elizabeth were confused about the traffic signal. The video destroyed that argument. They claimed Damian wasn't drunk. His blood alcohol test showed 0.15, nearly twice the legal limit. They claimed Deputy Stevens was lying for immunity. Then Sophia Martinez took the stand and presented 18 months of FBI surveillance, proving every word Stevens said was true. They were drowning, and they knew it. Elizabeth testified on day 3. She walked to the stand slowly, her 66 years weighing heavier after trauma and fear, and months of wondering if justice was just a word people said to make themselves feel better. Miss Sen, the prosecutor said gently,
Can you tell us what happened on the night of October 15th?
We were walking home from dinner, our 40th anniversary. We always go to Salvatore's on Tuesdays.
Elizabeth's voice was quiet but steady.
We were holding hands. The light was green for us. And then I heard my husband shout my name and push me. And then he was flying through the air like he weighed nothing.
What did you do?
I ran to him. He was bleeding. He couldn't move. And the man who hit him got out of his car and started blaming us. Started saying we walked into traffic. Started recording us with his phone like we were criminals instead of victims.
Did he touch you? Elizabeth's hands trembled.
He grabbed my arm, hard enough to bruise. He shook me. He told me I was going to lie to the police or he'd make things worse. And then he raised his hand to hit me.
What stopped him? Elizabeth looked directly at Marcus.
Lieutenant Stone stopped him.
He appeared out of nowhere and said, "That's enough." And suddenly I could breathe again. Suddenly I wasn't alone.
One more question, Mrs. Chen. If Lieutenant Stone hadn't been there that night, what do you think would have happened? Elizabeth's eyes filled with tears.
I think my husband would have died on that pavement. I think Mr. Blackwell would have assaulted me. And I think the police would have covered it all up and we'd have been blamed for our own destruction.
Her voice broke.
But Lieutenant Stone was there. And because one man chose to stop instead of drive past, everything changed.
The defense attorney stood for cross-examination. He tried to shake her testimony, tried to suggest she was confused about timing, about the light, about the assault. Elizabeth never wavered.
I'm 66 years old, she told him. I've lived through a lot. I know the difference between confusion and clarity. I know what I saw. I know what happened.
And no amount of expensive lawyer tricks is going to change the truth. The gallery erupted in applause. Judge Carmichael banged her gavel, but she was almost smiling.
Robert testified next. They wheeled him to the witness stand. His voice was stronger than it had been 3 months ago, but you could still hear the pain underneath every word. Mr. Chen, why did you push your wife out of the way? The prosecutor asked.
Because I love her.
Robert said it like it was the simplest thing in the world.
After 40 years, she's not separate from me anymore. Protecting her is the same as breathing. You don't think about it. You just do it.
Even though it meant you'd take the full impact?
Especially because of that. I'm 70. I've had a good life. She deserves more years. She deserves to see our grandchildren grow up. She deserves everything good this world can offer.
Robert's voice strengthened.
So yes, I pushed her. And I'd do it again. 1,000 times.
That's what love looks like when it's real. The jury was crying. Half the gallery was crying. Even Judge Carmichael had to compose herself. Marcus was called to testify on day 5. He walked to the stand with thunder beside him. The bailiff started to object, but Judge Carmichael waved him off. The dog stays. He's as much a witness as Lieutenant Stone. Marcus swore to tell the truth. Then he told it. Everything. The accident, the assault, Deputy Stevens's cover-up, the threats, the intimidation, the vandalism of his truck, the attempted bribery. He spoke in the same calm tone he'd used that night. No drama, no embellishment, just facts delivered with military precision. Lieutenant Stone, the defense attorney said during cross-examination, isn't it true you've been diagnosed with PTSD? Yes. And isn't it possible your perception of events that night was colored by your psychological condition? No. How can you be so certain?
Because I have 12 years of combat experience teaching me how to assess threats accurately under stress. Because I have a service dog trained to detect when my PTSD is affecting my judgment. And because there's video evidence that confirms every word I've said. Marcus leaned forward. But nice try. The gallery laughed. Judge Carmichael didn't stop them. The defense rested on day 6 without calling Damien Blackwell to testify. Smart move. He would have destroyed himself in 30 seconds. Closing arguments happened on day 7. The prosecution was brief and devastating. Members of the jury, this case is simple. A drunk man ran a red light. He hit an innocent person. He assaulted that person's wife. He tried to cover it up, and he would have gotten away with it if one man hadn't had the courage to stop. The prosecutor pointed at Marcus. That man is a hero, but he shouldn't have to be. Doing the right thing shouldn't require heroism. It should be normal. We're here to make sure it becomes normal again. The defense closing was desperate, grasping at straws that weren't there, suggesting reasonable doubt that no reasonable person could find. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they returned, the forewoman looked directly at Damien Blackwell as she read the verdict. On the count of vehicular assault with great bodily injury, we find the defendant guilty. Elizabeth grabbed Marcus's hand. On the count of driving under the influence causing injury, we find the defendant guilty. Robert closed his eyes. On the count of assault and battery, we find the defendant guilty. Sophia Martinez smiled from her seat. On the count of witness intimidation, we find the defendant guilty. Thunder's tail wagged once. On all counts of conspiracy, money laundering, and corruption, we find the defendant guilty. The courtroom exploded. People cheered. Some cried. Elizabeth and Robert held each other. 40 years of marriage, and they'd survived this together. They'd stood up together. They'd won together. Damien Blackwell showed no emotion, just sat there staring at nothing. The reality slowly sinking in. His money hadn't saved him. His family hadn't saved him. His connections hadn't saved him. Truth had won. Judge Carmichael scheduled sentencing for 2 weeks later. Damien was led away. No more house arrest, no more ankle monitor, just a cell and the knowledge that prison was coming. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed Marcus again. "Lieutenant Stone, how do you feel?" "I feel like justice worked the way it's supposed to." "What message do you have for others who witness crimes?" Marcus looked directly at the camera. "Stop. Don't drive past. Don't look away. Don't tell yourself it's not your problem. Because the minute you witness injustice and do nothing, you become part of the problem." His voice hardened, and to anyone thinking about driving drunk, about hurting innocent people, about using money and power to escape consequences, we're watching. People like me are everywhere, and we're done staying silent. The clip went viral within an hour, 10 million views by evening, 20 million by the next morning. Sentencing day arrived cold and clear. Judge Carmichael looked down at Damien Blackwell with no sympathy. "Mr. Blackwell, you were given every advantage in life: wealth, education, connections. And you used all of it to hurt people. You drove drunk and nearly killed a man. You assaulted his elderly wife. You tried to cover up your crimes. And when that failed, you intimidated witnesses, destroyed property, and threatened anyone who stood against you." She paused. "You deserve no mercy because you showed none. I sentence you to 20 years in state prison. No parole eligibility for 15 years. 20 years. Damien was 38. He'd be 58 when he got out. If he got out. Furthermore, Judge Carmichael continued, I'm ordering you to pay full restitution to Robert and Elizabeth Chen for all medical expenses, lost wages, and pain and suffering. Additionally, I'm ordering you to pay $2 million to Henry Park for the destruction of his business. And finally, I'm recommending that the State Bar investigate every attorney who worked on your defense for potential ethics violations. Damien was led away for the last time. No more appeals. No more delays. Just justice. Slow, but certain. Elizabeth and Robert hosted dinner at their house that evening. They'd insisted. Marcus tried to decline, but Elizabeth wouldn't hear it. Your family, she said. Family doesn't say no to dinner. So Marcus went, brought Thunder, found their small house filled with people. Henry Park and his daughter, Sophia Martinez, Deputy Stevens's wife who wanted to thank Marcus for giving her husband a chance at redemption, the hospice nurses who'd cared for James Stone. Even Judge Carmichael stopped by briefly to offer congratulations. This is what winning looks like, Robert said to Marcus as they stood on the back porch watching the sunset. Not just a verdict. This. Community. People who stood up together. People who became family through shared struggle. Your leg feeling better? Marcus asked. Better every day. Doctor says I'll never run a marathon, but I can walk without the cane now. I can stand next to my wife without falling. That's enough. That's everything. Robert was quiet for a moment. What are you going to do now? The trial's over. You got justice. Where does a man like you go from here? Marcus had been asking himself the same question for weeks. He'd come home to say goodbye to his father. He'd stayed to fight for strangers. Now both his parents were gone. His Navy career was over. He had no family, no roots, nowhere pulling him back. Except he did. Standing right here, on this porch with an elderly couple who'd survived hell and still had room in their hearts to love a stranger. I'm thinking about staying, Marcus said. Monterey's not a bad place. Good people here. People worth protecting. What would you do? I don't know yet. Maybe start a veterans organization. Help guys transition from combat to civilian life. Maybe do security consulting for people who can't afford to protect themselves. Maybe just be around when somebody needs help. Marcus looked at Thunder. We're good at that. Showing up when it matters. Elizabeth came out onto the porch, handed them both coffee. You two solving the world's problems? Just figuring out what comes next, Robert said. What comes next is you stay close. Elizabeth's voice left no room for argument. We already lost 40 years not knowing you existed. We're not losing whatever years we have left. Your family, Marcus Stone. Act like it. Marcus felt something warm spread through his chest. Not grief anymore. Not purpose driven by loss. Just belonging. Simple and uncomplicated, and exactly what he needed. Yes, ma'am. 3 months later, Marcus stood at his father's grave. Thunder sat beside him, patient as always. I did it, Dad, Marcus said to the headstone. I stayed. I fought. I made sure justice won. He paused. And I found family. Not the one I was born into. The one I chose. The one that chose me. Thunder's tail wagged. I'm opening a nonprofit, Stone and Thunder Protection Services. We're going to help people who can't help themselves. Veterans struggling with PTSD, elderly people facing abuse, witnesses afraid to testify. Anyone who needs someone to stand between them and danger. Marcus's voice grew stronger. I'm going to do what you taught me, Dad. I'm going to stand up. Every single day. for the rest of my life. The wind stirred the grass. It felt like approval. Marcus walked back to his truck where Elizabeth and Robert were waiting. They'd insisted on coming with him, said family didn't let family grieve alone. "You ready?" Robert asked. "Yeah, I'm ready." They drove to the community center where Marcus's first veterans group meeting was starting in an hour. 20 guys had signed up, all struggling, all looking for purpose after combat, all needing someone to show them that life after war could still matter. "Nervous?" Elizabeth asked from the back seat. "Terrified." "Good. That means you care." Robert turned around to look at him. "You know what your father would say right now?" "What?" "He'd say you're exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you were meant to do. And he'd be proud." Robert's eyes glistened. "We're all proud." The meeting went better than Marcus expected. 20 veterans sitting in a circle, sharing stories, admitting struggles, learning that they weren't alone. Thunder made the rounds, offering comfort to anyone who needed it. By the end, 3 guys had agreed to come back next week. 5 had exchanged phone numbers. 1 had cried for the first time since he'd come home from Afghanistan. "This is good," one of them told Marcus afterward. "This is what we needed. Someone who gets it. Someone who's been there." "We're all been there," Marcus said. "That's why we have to be here for each other." That became the motto. Been there. Here now. Forever forward. The nonprofit grew faster than Marcus anticipated. Within 6 months, they were helping 50 veterans. Within a year, 100. Elizabeth volunteered to organize fundraisers. Robert started teaching free history classes for at-risk youth, proving that his teaching career wasn't over just because he'd retired. Henry Park's jewelry store reopened with community support, and he donated 10% of profits to Marcus's organization. Deputy Kyle Stevens served 18 months in minimum security. When he got out, Marcus offered him a job. Stevens stared at him in disbelief. "After everything I did? After I tried to cover up what happened to the Chens?" "After you finally chose to do the right thing," Marcus corrected. "People deserve second chances. You just have to earn yours." Stevens earned it, became one of the best advocates they had, former cop helping veterans navigate the legal system, using his knowledge of corruption to prevent it, turning his biggest mistake into his life's redemption. 2 years after the accident, Marcus stood at the same intersection where it had all started. The city had installed a memorial, a bench with a plaque, in honor of Robert and Elizabeth Chen, who survived the worst and chose to keep loving, and in memory of James Stone, who taught his son that standing up always matters. May we all have their courage. Marcus sat on the bench. Thunder laid at his feet. "We did okay, boy," Marcus said. "I think we did okay." Thunder's tail thumped against the pavement. Robert and Elizabeth approached, walking slowly but walking together. 42 years of marriage now. They'd survived trauma that would have destroyed weaker unions. They'd come out stronger. "Thought we'd find you here," Elizabeth said. "Just remembering." "Good memories or bad?" "Both. All of it. The night that changed everything." Robert sat beside him, Elizabeth on his other side. 3 people who'd become family through violence and chosen to build something beautiful from the wreckage. "You know what I think about?" Robert said. "I think about all the people who drove past before you stopped. All the people who saw what was happening and decided it wasn't their problem. All the people who could have helped, but didn't." "Don't," Marcus said. "That'll make you bitter." "I'm not bitter. I'm grateful." Robert looked at him. "Because if all those people hadn't driven past, you might not have been the one who stopped."
And we needed you specifically, not just any helper. You, with your courage and your stubbornness and your dog who saved us as much as you did. Thunder's the real hero. Thunder's ears perked up at his name. You're both heroes, Elizabeth said firmly. And you saved more than just us. You saved Henry Park. You saved Kyle Stevens' soul. You saved all those veterans who found purpose again because you showed them how. She took Marcus's hand. You saved yourself, Marcus. You came home to bury your father. You stayed to become the man he raised you to be. Marcus sat there between two people who felt more like parents than friends. Thunder at his feet, the memorial behind them, the intersection in front of them, where everything had started. He thought about his father's last words. Keep fighting for people who need you. He was keeping that promise. Every single day.
One person at a time. One stand at a time. One moment at a time.
Come on, Robert said, standing slowly. Elizabeth made pot roast. You're eating with us. I don't want to impose. Family doesn't impose. Family shows up. Elizabeth pulled him to his feet. Now come on before it gets cold. They walked together. 3 people and a dog. Family built from tragedy. Love constructed from trauma. Proof that the worst moments could become foundations for the best lives. Behind them, the sun set over the intersection where a drunk driver had nearly destroyed everything. Where one man had decided to stop instead of drive past. Where justice had learned to matter again. And ahead of them, the future waited. Uncertain, challenging, beautiful. Because that's what happens when ordinary people choose to be heroic. The world doesn't change overnight. It changes one stand at a time, one voice at a time. One person deciding that some things are worth fighting for.
Marcus Stone had learned that from his father. He'd proven it with the Chens. And he'd spend the rest of his life teaching it to anyone who needed to hear it. Because heroes don't stop being heroes just because the cameras turn off. They keep showing up. Keep standing up. Keep refusing to let evil win quietly. That's what changes the world. Not power, not money, not position. Just people who decide that truth matters more than comfort, that courage matters more than safety, that love matters more than everything. One heart at a time, one moment at a time, one stand at a time. If this story touched your heart, remember, you carry that same power. You can be the one who stops. You can be the one who stands. You can be the one who refuses to let injustice win without a fight. Share this story with someone who needs to know that courage still exists. Tell us in the comments about a time you stood up, or someone stood up for you. And may you find the strength to stop when stopping is hard, the wisdom to see when seeing is painful, and the love to act when action costs everything. Because that is what changes the world. Ordinary people making extraordinary choices, one brave decision at a time.